right. Well, hello, and welcome everyone to 4th 2020. This is episode number 45. And what we are taking a look at today are opinions to calm our fear of the future. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today.
45.
What was that? Oh, I'm getting a little feedback there.
Sorry,
Okay.
it's me. Yeah, that's good. You're good.
All right. Well, before we get started, let's say hello to our panel. So Natalie, hey, welcome.
I'm just going to show this. I had my first certifying students today. So yeah, now they're not certified yet, but you know, gone through the whole process. So we've been toasting at the end of class. And just so you know, it's 9:00 p.m. here, so it's eligible to be able to drink. Good to for the virus as well. So, but I'm really in a celebrative state right now.
Yay, congratulations. This is a big deal. So congratulations. That's awesome. And it sounds like it was a really awesome class too, and the feedback and everything else.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Congratulations. That's
happy to be here as well.
That's awesome. And Chris, welcome.
Hey everyone, welcome. Yeah, glad you're all here. Glad you can make it. Of course, nobody has anything else to do because we're all online. So glad you're spending a little time with us today. That feels really good. So welcome.
Exactly. And unfortunately, Lavina's not able to join us. I'm actually a little concerned. I hope she's doing okay. So if everyone can send their prayers, their healing energy, their warm thoughts to Lavina. She's been sick. She's not quite sure exactly what. And so just want to make sure that that she's okay. So we're sending good vibes your way, Lavina, and we love you, and we hope you are well and back very soon. So, all right, well, let's jump in. The first thing I want to do is just remind you to visit our new website. Again, if you want any of the links to join our BG5 Live, if you want to watch any of the past episodes, you can watch them on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. One of the things we want to start doing is starting to build a subscribership. So please subscribe on YouTube. Before we jump into the trait 17 that we're going to focus on, I want to just take a step back because we sort of skipped over trait 25 in between these two classes. So I wanted to talk a little bit about trait 25. This was, it was in 25.5 on Sunday, just this past Sunday, March 22nd. And 25 is about innocence. And I was listening to some material on Raw, and I thought that this was really relevant, given that the times we're in and what we're all facing worldwide. So when we take a look at trait 25 and the quality 5, it's interesting because this is the only quality, 25.5. So trait 25, quality 5, it's the only quality of all 384 qualities that speaks of healing. When innocence is zapped of its vitality, healing is the first priority. And he said the ability to recognize the inner meaning of affliction is to withdraw until it is healed. And he said, please hear what that says. This is about humanity and humanity's capacity to be healed, which I think is what we're in the process of right now. And he said, the first thing to understand, it says to withdraw until it is healed, to withdraw first from the auras of others. So what are we doing in social distancing? What are we doing in quarantine, you know, or lockdowns, wherever we happen to be in the world and whatever happens to be happening? We're, you know, in a sense, we're drawing away from others and really, in a sense, moving into this recuperation and withdrawing first from the aura of others. And he said, if you live out your own nature, you are healthy. And that doesn't mean that you don't get sick. It means you get the illness that is correct for you. So isn't that funny? What, we get everything that's correct for us, including whatever illness is correct for us. So you get the illness that's correct for you, and all you have to do to heal is to withdraw and go into your own space and into your own aura and wait for it to pass. So what are we doing right now? So because your own system will deal with it, because you're equipped to deal with it when it's correct. This is the heart of what the healing business is all about. So I just thought that that was a perfect thing to kind of bring to light, as we're moving through this whole process. And I think there is a healing process that's going on for all of humanity. And again, we have to start to turn inward, to take a look at ourselves, to remove all of the distractions, and being put on pause allows us to be able to look at that and see that. So Chris or Natalie, or anyone on Facebook or in our BG5 Live, anything that you would like to add, say anything that you recognize in taking a look at this recuperation, and taking a look at this healing, in taking a look at withdrawing first from the auras of others.
You want
Yes,
to say
Natalie.
something, Chris? No.
Well, I guess I was just thinking about how that really, and we're going to talk more about that when we look at trait 17 in just a moment here, but it's really taking a moment to sort of go within and detach from the outer influences and energies and conditioning fields or activation fields that are out there, and getting clear about who you are, and finding that inner strength to recalibrate. And it's interesting to me that not only are we doing that on an individual level, but and I was just talking about this in my Profit Potential class today, about how all change and transformation starts with the individual, that moves to the tribe and then to the collective. And so as individuals go within and take that pause, it ripples out into our families, and the families that we're together with that are pausing, and then into the collective, the global, what we're seeing on a global level of the pause. This is a huge, okay, we got to just shut some stuff down here and pause. And it's interesting to see how people are reacting to this very logical move, but they're reacting to it in a very emotional and illogical, and yet it makes perfect sense way, right? So it's a really interesting to see that. And for me, when I hear this, and as we discuss human design, and we've been tracking each week, what traits are activated in the conscious sun for all of us, to watch what's happening and unfolding right now is really fascinating. And for me, as soon as I start to feel a little anxious about it, I'm like, well, whose anxiety is this? And then I think also, wow, look, there's a pattern here. There is an order to this chaos, and that we are actually evolving and innovating and creating a whole new way of being. And that takes a pause. That takes stopping what you're doing and going, whoa, 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 whoa. What's not working? What's working? And for those of us who are still feeling healthy, we're like, man, come on, I want to keep going. But it's sort of like, no, this is for all of us to do. This is an invitation for all of us to be in that pause. And for me, that's really soothing to know that everybody's in it at the same time.
Yeah. It removes a lot of the pressure, right?
Yeah.
There's the pressure to go and to be on top of it and be responsible and do this and do that, right? If literally the whole world is on pause.
Yeah. So
it gives us a permission to also be on pause.
Exactly. There's no rush. There's nowhere to get to anyway. Like, we've all been running around trying to get somewhere anyway. So why not just pause and assess, where are we? Right. Yeah. And go back to that innocence, go back to that place of, hey, what's really happening here? Instead of thinking we know it all and we can sort of, I don't know, control it all, if you will.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Beautiful, Chris. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Anything, Natalie, you'd like to add?
Well, one thing Rachel says, innocence, in no sense. So I like that. But I actually want to share. So we know this information, right? And I was talking to two persons today. One person is a former manager of mine and a good friend, and she is fascinating, but doesn't want to know her own design because she's religious. But you know, even she sees that it was necessary to have some kind of change, right? And this for happening. And the other one was my sister-in-law, and she knows that I'm doing this, but she's doesn't know anything actually about it, right? We never actually sat down to, but she's, you know, interested. But she mentioned, so you know, at her big company they work in, she's just her and another person doing the reception, doing the whatever, you know, doing everything, and just being there for half a day, and then, you know, everybody goes home, or everybody, the two of them, because everybody works from home. But also she felt this peace, and it fascinates me that, you know, I don't know what percentage of people, but half of the people are really panicking and afraid. But the other half, and even people who do not know this information, feel peace. This morning I was listening to the radio, and they have this stand-up comedian that does like a weekly, on Friday, a weekly review of the week. And last Friday he decided to be there every day in the morning, to sit by the telephone from 8 till 9. And then he shares at 10, so people can call with suggestions, how they are, and amazing things come up. And also there was like both sides really, but what you shared also, Chris, like people feel happy not having to rush anywhere, and being able to be in their own environment and withdraw. My daughter, she's thrilled to have online school. It's and it works well, and she is now able to give feedback to her teachers, like, well, like you do it, that doesn't work. Please give me time. Just say what I have to do tomorrow before 3, but don't say, okay, it's 11 and at 12 you have to do something. That doesn't work if we're not in the building. It's like, but it gives, yeah, it's, oh, I'm just fascinated by how everything is in transformation. It's yeah. So, and recuperation, also people who, that was the thing on the radio. Usually, no, that was actually yesterday Carlo sharing that people feel guilty for not doing anything because you have to contribute to the tribe. And now there's no guilt. You can just be, right? Yeah. There's and this pressure of wanting, needing to, you know, move up, do something is not there. You can just, you know, withdraw and heal and come to yourself, back to your own senses. No sense.
Right. Exactly. Come to your own sense. You know, and 25 is you know, the trait is a part of identity and direction. I forgot to put a picture of it there, but it's part of identity and direction. It's one of the love traits, and it's universal love.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, it's sending out, in a sense, you know, loving ourselves, loving everyone, you know, and you know, this ability to experience that. Yeah.
I think it's interesting too when you say that, and we know that it's universal love, that it's the only one of the traits that that speaks of healing.
Yeah.
Very interesting that you know, what we think healing is all about, and what we, you know, I tell people, like, nobody needs your healing tools. Like, nobody needs your, I say, I'm a little more crass. I'm like, nobody needs your shit. Like, they don't. Like, the world does not need healing. However, what it needs is your unique expression. Because in your unique expression, that is the expression of universal love. That is an expression of it that allows everyone to experience and express themselves fully. And I just think that that's an interesting thing to contemplate, that it is through going within and sort of taking a break and understanding your own operating system, if you will, and how it is impacted by others, and coming back out from that place, understanding that it's not about you as an individual per se, it's about understanding your individuality in relationship to the whole. Yeah. And when you see your unique individuality, you understand just how connected we all are.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
and it's a little paradoxical there, but most people are like, oh, it's individuality, it's all about you. And it's like, that's not exactly that's not it. It's that's not the highest expression of it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And it's interesting that this recuperation is, in a sense, the message of universal love, right? Because the 5 is the messenger.
Right. Right. It's space, you know. I mean, I know I was talking with one of my coaches at one point. She was like, you know, space is what most people need. They don't necessarily need more information. They need space to contemplate, to, you know, go within, to take a little breather, and not jump right into doing. And we as builders, right, 70% of the population, express builders, classic builders, we are the great doers. And if we're not pausing a little bit before we keep jumping in, we're just, you know, we're just moving for what?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, when in talking about sort of the personal space, I wanted to just kind of bring up just some very quick sort of observations that I just think are kind of fun. Also, you know, just kind of tying it into what we take a look at. This is from Mexico. And this is how they're presenting the social distancing, and they're presenting it as a superpower. Right. So you can see in the middle, we have a woman that has a superpower. And if you've taken any of our classes, we talk about aura, or the nonverbal frequency, and how does it extend? And, you know, we use a picture very similar to this. And so it's very interesting that they're talking about this is, in a sense, part of one of your superpowers, is to be able to, in a sense, be in your own space. So I think it's really fascinating. And Juan Jose, who's one of the other instructors teaching in Spanish, I think this is also really coming to the forefront and understanding, you know, what this personal space is all about. When he said, you know, I was with Ra from the beginning, and we've talked about this aura, and we've talked about this personal space for over 25 years. And now we're getting to a place where people can now get it, right? It's being demonstrated by, you know, by our governments, and it's being informed, and it's being taught. You know, so the program is doing a lot of the work for us, especially those of us who are BG5 consultants or instructors, you know, so that it really lays the groundwork so people can really get what this is all about. And I found it interesting too. President Trump urged all Americans, regardless of health or age, or to limit their socializing to groups of 10 or less in order to help curb the spread of the novel coronavirus. So it's very interesting, the number 10. Why is that so interesting? Because 10 is the number of people where the wa dynamics start to come into play. So in a sense, we're also, in a sense, deconditioning or cutting ourselves off also from the whole wa dynamic. So
large groups, right?
What's that?
Which is large groups.
Yeah. So the WA dynamic, when we're talking about the WA dynamic, yes, is large groups, large organizations. We take a look at that in OC16, but we're also, in a sense, stepping away from large grouping. Again, sort of, there's a whole different conditioning force, you know, when you're in a group of 9 to 10 people. So I found that really fascinating. The other thing is they're talking about, you know, no handshaking, touching, etc. And if you take a look at what tribal connection is all about and what is actually breaking down, you know, what's breaking down is this tribal construct. So the tribal frequency is breaking down. And so, you know, the handshake is the bargain, is the deal, right? You know, and we're being encouraged not to shake hands, not to touch, etc. So I found that very fascinating as well, if we take a look at, you know, the program and what's happening. And moving into the era of the individual is where we're moving into. And it's individual space, just like you were talking about, Chris. You know, it's social distancing. And in Spanish, what it says down below is, you know, if you take care of yourself, you take care of everyone. So exactly what you were just saying, Chris, you know, and it's now being, you know, it's now being publicized. You really need to take care of yourself first. And it's only when you take care of yourself, you know, and from our perspective, when you take care of yourself, when you're operating correctly, when you're following your decision-making strategy, when you are trusting and loving yourself, only then can you connect on a whole different layer. You know, only then can you really take care of others. So these are just kind of a couple of, like I said, just kind of noticing things out there and just kind of pulling them together and seeing how they relate to, you know, what BG5 is all about, what human design is all about. And what this has also spoke to me about is how accurate this information is. I mean, you just look at what's happening in the world and you see it. You see it in the transits, you see it in the frequency, you see it in what's going on. It's absolutely fascinating. Yeah, anything either of you would like to add to this before we jump into the 17?
No, I love this image, and I love that it's like, it's your superpower, and that everybody's starting to understand what the aura feels like. I just think that's really cool. I love it. And
Yeah.
I love it. If you take care of yourself, you take care of everyone. That is, the very first talk I ever gave as a speaker was how being selfish is actually the kindest thing you can do for others. And this is before I knew anything about human design. And it was like, by taking care of yourself and knowing yourself and loving yourself, then you by default are going to be more loving and taking care of other people in the right way, you know, in a way that actually serves. And so now to just see that, I think it's really neat to see, as you said, you know, there's a science behind it. It's not just like we're sort of making all this up. And I don't know any system that explains not just who you are and your personality, but how your body works and how the whole of humanity we're talking about our evolution as a species. This isn't a little like, oh, this is kind of a cool idea. It's like, whoa, this is happening. That's wild, you know? I think
Yeah.
cool.
You can map it onto science, you know, biology. You can map it onto history, and you can see the background frequency through history and where we are right now, and you can see it unfolding right now. Exactly. And so where we are right now is we're in trait 17 of opinion, and opinion is grounded in detail. So it's the ancient law that those who wish to rule must know how to serve, just like you were talking about, Chris, in you know, being able to, in knowing yourself, then you can serve others. It's the organizing formula for expression, and it's visually fixed on patterns and protecting it into the future. So it's about the right eye, and it's about being able to see patterns. And it's always ready to share, especially if you have this, always ready to share your logical opinions and your vision of the bigger picture. And looking for one concept or opinion among the many that we can all trust, one that will survive both testing and criticism to help calm our fears for the future. And so one of the things about trait 17, there's a lot of opinions going on right now, right? There's a lot of different people saying a lot of different things. And what opinion do you trust, right? So again, you need to follow your decision-making strategy and really filter through all of the noise to find, you know, the one concept or opinion among many that we can all trust that can survive both testing and criticism. And that's what's also going to help us calm the fears about the future. And I think that's what's really needed right now, because it feels like everything's uncertain. Nobody knows when they're going back to work. right? Nobody knows, what it's going to look like on the other side. No one knows how long it's going to last, right? If they're going to have a job or not have a job at the other side of this, all of those things. Are they going to get sick? Are they not going to get sick? Are any of their loved ones going to get sick or not? All of these things. There's a lot of uncertainty, so how do we help calm the fears of the future? And it's part of what the 17 is all about. So any thoughts, anything that you see in taking a look at this 17?
Well, the only thing I really love about, or what jumped out right at the beginning, the ancient law that those who wish to rule must know how to serve. And thinking about the current system, right? And how it's all, you shared about the what is it, the creature of Jekyll Island, and how it is also seen in the global cycles, etc. Yeah, so they're like also shaken up by this, right? So you wish to rule, but yeah, do you really listen to the people? Do you really know how to serve? Are you not just in it for your own whatever status gain, etc.? And it's actually nice that it shows up right now, right? In the background frequency, in the energy.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. We have, if we take a look at crosses too, it's kind of interesting. We can kind of take a look at sort of the theme or pattern behind the scenes as well. Right now, this is service, then it moves into opinion, and then it moves into upheaval.
Oh, great.
So just to give you a preview of coming events.
Of what's to come. I do want to note something here that I think is important, and that is that this is logical and logical opinions. Now, here's the thing. Something can be very logical and be total bullshit. So that is the other piece of it, is that just because, and what we have I think as humans, we have this sort of idea that something that is logical is much more believable than something that is experiential or illogical. If we can't make sense of it, then it must not be real or true.
Yeah.
And so anyone could take any kind of data. And I used to work in research, and I used to work in psychology research. And one of the things about studying humans is that we are so variable. Again, this was before I knew about human design. And so we use a statistical, use statistics to figure out the curve and analyze all the information. And yet human beings try to cram everybody into sort of the lowest common denominator and see if it's statistically significant. Well, those numbers can be manipulated in many different ways. And so you can come out with something that looks logical and statistically significant, and yet, and people go, oh, well, that's how it is. And it's sort of like, is it? And so we can see how also if somebody has a lot of authority in the way that they're sharing their opinions, and again, it sounds very logical, people will be like, oh, well, that's true, without trusting themselves. This is where we're still giving our power over to an authority outside of ourselves and kind of going, oh, well, I don't have to think for myself because that person's doing it for me. And so you really want to look at the sources. And again, just because something sounds logical does not necessarily mean it's true.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point. We were just looking at trait 25 earlier, and this is also the priest or the priestess. And one of the things that Ross said is our scientists, in a sense, are our new, quote unquote priests. And what do they use, right? They use this logic, they use formulas, they use data, they use science. But again, you can still lie with logic. So it's something to be very aware of. To closely listen to and to be, really attuned to, because not all of the opinions out there, are necessarily true, even as logical as they may sound, or you may think they sound.
Exactly. And just also to note that trait 61 is active in the collective design for a lot more. I think it's like 500 some more days or something like that. But right now it's activated 3 times in the design. And that is the BS, I call it the BS detector, right? Like this is our inner knowing, you know, is this true? And so we have the capacity right now, each and every one of us, it's in the field, it's in the program right now for each and every one of us to be listening and going, what feels true? What do we know to be true here internally versus what's going on out there?
Yep, exactly. Exactly. And one other piece about the 17 is that it's also the teacher. It's one of the teaching traits. The 17 and the 11 are 2 teaching traits. So this is all about teaching and education and, you know, kind of arranging all of the patterns. It's very fascinating. I was taking a look, I'm going to be teaching a cycles class in May, and I was taking a look at the current cycle that I'm in. And I'll show you my chart real quick. Just because I thought it was just real fascinating how it kind of ties in. But I was looking at my current cycle. Here's the current cycle that I'm in, and it's a 17/6 that I'm currently in. And when it started was in 2014. I started teaching for the BG5 Business Institute in 2015. So it's very interesting, you know, again, there's all kinds of different ways that you can use this information. And the only reason I point this out is, again, it's another way to be able to see, you know, there's different layers and different ways that you can see and use this information. So it may be in your design, it may not be in your design, it may be in the transit, it may be in your, you know, in basically the theme that you're working through right now in whatever life cycle you happen to be at. And like I said, I put this here just to remind me, it's, you know, right now it's in service, opinions, and then it moves to upheaval. So upheaval is, is the current cycle that I happen to be in as well. So just thought that was kind of an interesting way, and just, again, just another way to be able to look at this information as well.
Ah, so you're here to teach us about the upheaval of current times, right?
There we go.
Exactly. It doesn't always have to be a bad thing, right?
Right.
We get like crisis, upheaval, we go, you know, and I even had a funny reaction to it, but it's not, this is where the creative potential for something new to come from happens, right? We're just staying the status quo, nothing change, you know, I mean, it changes, but very slowly, but sometimes it's that wake up call.
Yeah, but and
pause, a global pause.
Exactly, the global pause right now, and you know, from limitation we can make the quantum leap. We can get to something new, because, you know, we have to do with what we have, and there spurts the creativity and the you know, things that we thought were never possible can happen and are happening. It's just fascinating.
Exactly.
We have a little question here from Jordy, who says, what do you think about this trait, given that most of our global leaders and rulers are not being of service and are serving themselves? Is this the potential upheaval that's coming? Could be.
Yeah.
It could be that wake up call that says, you know, I think there are some who are being of service, and they're doing the best they can within the system. I think that there's some who are, but overall, most of what we're seeing out there is pretty much doing the CYA. Let's cover your ass. And so they're scrambling to, you know, oh, I didn't do this part, or I eradicated this, or we didn't pay attention to it, or whatever. We didn't take it seriously, or whatever the case may be, wherever you are in the world. And now, or it's like, well, how do we bail out, you know, big business, or whatever it is. And we do see that. And so that could be some of that upheaval that we're seeing.
Yeah.
Some of the examples of those doing good, I think that it's probably not in the way that certainly in the US right now, I'm struggling to find some of those, but I do see where there are people who are stepping up and connecting. Like we're seeing people who are leading their lives like as community, you know, we're not looking to we're like, okay, well, the leaders, whatever they're doing over there, that isn't working. So we're going to step up here as citizens.
I live in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands. I got 3 different flyers already in the past week. One group app for the neighborhood, for those who are in it and those who want to help. Another one, well, all in the same range. And then I heard on the radio again this morning, so beautiful examples, like this woman was living in a street with a lot of elderly people, and she did in all the mailboxes of the elderly people a green paper and a red paper, and then pointing out that if you are okay, just put up the green paper behind your window and we know you're okay, and we wave, and everything's good. If you need something, or if you want a conversation, put up your red paper and we know that, you know, we can help you, we can reach out, and etc. So beautiful little examples of how the community, you know, how we from ourselves are kind of this.
Yeah, and I think it's time for each of us, and you know, in our own way, and whatever is correct for you, right? No pressure to have to do one thing or the other in a certain way. Whatever's correct for you, but but really, you know, stepping up and realizing, awakening to all of, in a sense, the corruption that's been happening. Because I think, you know, this is part of what the upheaval is about too. Exposing a lot of the corruption that's been happening behind the scenes, bringing it to light, and so that we're awake to it, that we're not, you know, that we're not so dumbed down, asleep to it, or so busy having so many different jobs and so many things to do that we don't even have time to pay attention.
Right.
Now we have time to pay attention, right? And to see who is of service and who is not. And I think in these coming weeks, these coming months, throughout this coming year, I think, you know, things are going to start to be separated out, that you're going to start to see, you know, it's going to come to light. We're waking up to this inner truth, just like Chris was talking about, you know, with the 61 being so active, we're waking up to what is the inner truth. And I really do think that that's also going to be coming to light as well.
I agree. So Tomas is asking, how can we use this energy of gate 17 best? What to point our focus on? And maybe we're going to talk about that next. Let's look at that. And we'll back to that.
Yeah. So if we take a look specifically of what quality 1 is about, this is the openness, and it's about authority. And so the elevation is the possibility of having many opinions, the energy to sustain a broad spectrum of stimuli. So in a sense, be able to kind of take it all in, and then for yourself decide what is correct or not. Again, I think one of the key things in taking a look at this is there's a lot of opinions out there. Which opinions are correct or not? And trusting yourself to be able to distinguish, right? So again, you may have this openness. Again, we're starting sort of with this openness. This is the foundation. Anytime we see quality 1, it is the foundation of this trait. So it's the foundation of this trait is having many opinions, the energy to sustain a broad spectrum of stimuli. The challenge is the possibility to limit opinions to what is pleasing, a tendency to limit openness aesthetically to aesthetically pleasing stimuli. There we go. Get that word out there. Now, you know, and that can be okay, but we also, I think part of this waking up is also being able to see, in a sense, the ugliness, to be able to see the corruption, to see, you know, both the good and the bad in this whole situation. You know, that's the openness, being able to be open to all these different possibilities, whether we like them or not, whether they're pleasant or not. I think that's kind of where we're at this point, is being able to take a look at all of them to start to distinguish, even if these are opinions that we don't really like, at least kind of looking at them to see. I think it's kind of like, you know, there's a thread of truth, you know, and you may have all of these different opinions, and some of them have more truth, some of them have less truth, but being able to be open to hear it all so that you can distinguish for yourself what is really true, even stuff that may be unpleasant and you don't really want to hear or you really don't want to know, right? I think the corruption is something that we've been asleep to for a long time. It's not something pleasant. It's probably not something that we really want to look at. that we as individuals, we have as people, as the people, if you will, have allowed, in a sense, our governments to take over and, you know, and to, you know, allowed them to get away with this for so long. You know, we need to look at all of these different things. So I think that's what where we're, and how we can use this 17 right now is to really be open to what all of the opinions are, so that we can find what that thread of truth really is.
Exactly. Discernment. Yeah.
Yeah. I see there's a couple things here.
I think we got that.
Yeah, Rachel is sharing. Rachel is in Canada, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Our prime minister is using the crisis to increase our income taxes. I'm like, should be the opposite, right? Like, no, yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
And let's see. I have to open up.
Again, like the possibility to limit opinions to what is pleasing is sort of like the spin doctors, right? Like we'll only, you know, share the, you know, the positive or the like the lighter side of it because we don't want everybody to know the truth of what's going on, you know, otherwise, and quite frankly, you know, again, one could argue, and this is where that openness comes in, is like, okay, what do we need to know how do we need to educate ourselves without creating mass hysteria? Because again, this is about how to this is in the mental awareness or the conceptualization. So mental awareness, so, you know, there's anxieties that are inherent in there. And so how can we share exactly what's needed without getting it all freaked out? I have a client who's from Germany, and she was sharing with me yesterday. She goes, my God, the US news is crazy. I don't think I could watch it. It's so drama filled. Everything is like, you know, everything's got these deathly, you know, and just like the end of the world. And I said, I know. And she goes, in Germany, part of the news is owned by the government. And so there's no ads. They just give the facts. They're like, and she goes, there's no emotion about it. There's no drama about it. It's just simply, this is what you need to know. Here you go. She goes, we don't tend to get super dramatic about anything anyway, but like, and I just thought, oh, how refreshing. Like, you know, she even suggested maybe you want to watch the German news or you know, something else, or watch the BBC. We sometimes watch the Canadian news or something else, because the news in the United States is ridiculous. It's just like it's like everything is
everything's clickbait.
Oh, totally. And just snippets of, here's the like, just to get you to watch, and then they don't give you anything that's really useful, or it's all conjecture. I mean, so many of the talking heads here, we get to talk and share our opinions because we're educating, but we're also sharing it. So much color commentary is happening in the news right now. It's like, just give us what we need to know. But it's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So fascinating times we live in. Anything else from either Facebook or from our BG5 Live?
No, in Facebook there's not really any comment, and BG5 Live.
Yeah.
In Germany, so Rachel shares a lot. So
we're just talking about, but that's not relevant to this conversation. So let's stay with trait 17. Thank you for sharing, Rachel. But and that's such a bummer. I get that about what's happening there. But let's look at who's our.
Yeah, and then you know, I don't know if it's so relevant for the time, but I was just taking a look. I'm a Denver Broncos fan, so I love American football. So I just had to pull up Peyton Manning. So Peyton Manning was the last great quarterback that we had, where we won Super Bowl 50. But he has 17-1. And if you take a look at what the life work theme is, again, we're talking about service, right? Service, then opinion, and then of course upheaval. But you have a logical understanding of what it means to be human, and moved by dissatisfaction to focus on correcting, reorganizing, and serving humanity. Now you may think that's kind of, strange with a quarterback. How would you see that? But, one of the things he was nicknamed the sheriff, right? Because, it's kind of like he was very, very detailed and very, very precise and very, very, again, focused on correcting and reorganizing things, which is one of the things that made him a really great quarterback as well. So I just kind of tying it into the life work theme. So again, you can see all the different levels and all the different layers. This one trait, right? We took a look at it, just in the general sense. We're taking a look at it as a background frequency. You may have this particular trait within your own design. It may be your life work theme, or like with me, it may be part of what your role is in this sort of period of time or in this particular cycle. So once again, this is the 17 is part of the cycle that I'm in. And again, it's fascinating what I happen to be doing. Again, it's one of the traits of the teacher. So it's what I am doing right here as well. So let's go ahead and wrap everything up. Again, just be aware, because within this week, we're going to be moving into upheaval as well. So just watch the movie, take that retreat, take that time to recuperate, to be with yourself, to see yourself, to understand yourself, to study, to do whatever it is to really take care of yourself and continue to follow your decision-making strategy. So again, if you want to find out more about BG5 or human design, please feel free to visit our website. You can also get a free report. You can see it right there on the homepage. Also, if you scroll down, you can check out our programs and our courses. We have new courses that are coming up in May. Typically we have courses that start in May, September, and January. So we have new courses that are coming up. And of course, if you want to join us during our BG5 Live, it's every Tuesday. If you want to find out what the trait is, what the background frequency of the day is, you can go to our BG5 Live, and it gives you all the links and all the information to join us live, or again, the link to YouTube as well, where you can visit us on YouTube to watch any of the past episodes. All right. Well, thank you. And what I'd like to do, just to wrap up, what are a few things for people to take away and to look at and to be present for this week?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's being open to listening to perhaps opinions that you haven't typically listened to, but ultimately trusting your own decision-making strategy and your own internal knowing, right? That inner truth. Trait 61, that's really sort of, I think it's interesting that inner truth is tracking us through all of this right now, because that is really what is going to get us through this. And it is about being a stand for what is important to us, in our heart, and how we can be of service, and how we can track and serve and recognize that we are all in this together, period. It does not matter where you live. It does not matter how much money you have or don't. It does not matter what color your skin is. It does not matter what you do for nothing. We are all in this together, period. And yet our individual genius is being called out right now. And so, trusting our decision-making strategy and our own inner knowing is what can guide us right now. Because as Natalie pointed out to another question, he said, we have a lot of different theories nowadays. What's going on in the world? Is it a collapse of authority? And Natalie said, the tribal background frequency is breaking down, and we're going to the individual and trust your own authority. And we talked about that at the beginning of this show, and we've been talking about it over the last several weeks. So this is part of the program. It's happening. It's okay. This is all part of it. We are laying the foundation of this next 7-year cycle, where we will be by 2027 in a place where we'll go, wow, look at what we went through to get here. Man, that was a big one, but we did it. This is cool. So it's all part of it. It's all good,
Yeah,
we got this.
exactly. 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 How about for you, Natalie?
Amen. No, yeah. Yeah, beautifully said, Chris. I was just sticking to trust your decision-making strategy, but no, beautifully said. Nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is a time, just like we looked at the beginning, it's a time to own your own superpower.
Yeah.
And it's realizing that you do have that ability to love and trust yourself and to be a witness, right? Observe the movie as things unfold. Again, being around others, you may feel this anxiety, you may feel, stuff going on, and, keep coming back to trusting yourself, trusting your decision-making strategy. And again, in this week, know that there may be a big upheaval that happens, may or may not, but know that that's, part of what's happening. And so you're prepared, that you're aware. And again, just stay safe. And, like Chris said, we're all in this together. And I think that's what, and right now it's really a time to be of service, a service to be with each other, the service to communicate with each other like we're doing right now. So take a look at, especially in the next few days, where you can be of service.
Yeah. And I would just love to add one more thing here. Jordy asked another question. She says, what are you all suggesting for consultants of BG5 given the economic changes coming? I don't know that we have a global answer for that, but what I would say is trust your decision-making strategy, trust your authority to offer what feels correct for you. And what feels correct for me might be different than what's correct for Karen or Natalie or Lavina or you, Jordy, or anyone else. And that is the beauty of this. That really is, that there is not one way to do it. And so you have your own unique genius that that's what we've worked on teaching. And how is it being called? Each and every one of us, how is it being called? And we get to determine how we're going to share that. And so that's how I would answer that.
Yeah.
Anybody wanted to say anything else, but
yeah, and personally, from my opinion, I think people are, we're seeing people are awakening, and there's anxiety, there's fear. And I think that's, especially for those of us who are BG5 consultants, and for those of us who are learning this information, at this level of depth, part of our role is to support others in knowing that it's okay. Just like we said at the very beginning of this is, the opinions that can calm the fears of the future, right? So being able to see, how to trust your decision-making strategy, how you operate. In my opinion, it's going to become more and more and more in demand because people are going to be looking for answers. And I've been a self-assessment junkie for most of my life. I've done probably everything that's out there, and there is nothing that I have found personally that is more accurate than this. And as Chris was saying earlier, there's so many things that you can map this onto, right? Onto history, onto what's happening right now. To me, that just adds to the validity of how accurate this system is, not only for yourself personally, but what it looks like in interconnections, whether it be partnerships or small groups or large groups, whether it be what's happening during the day, we can see it all. And I think there's going to be more and more and more of a demand, for this information, for our role as BG5 consultants in supporting humanity in moving forward into the future in a way that's healthy and supportive for the whole, where we are of service to others.
Exactly. In talking with a couple of my clients, even looking at, there are a lot of people that are right now perhaps going, holy crap, what am I going to do? And then there are some who are going, wow, this was the kick in the butt I needed to finally do that thing that I've always wanted to do and didn't or couldn't, or business owners who are like, we've been thinking we needed to restructure, and now how can we do that? And with BG5 as small business consultants, doing Penta team, doing OC16, we can go in there and we can help them design, and I'm working with my clients right now to do this, to design teams that will that are so beautifully working together based on their design, that to take them into be able to serve in a much larger way. So there's a lot of beauty and a lot of ways that we can serve, and it's okay to make money at this time in service. It's okay for that. I think there's a lot of people who feel guilty about that, and that's just shadow.
Yeah, I agree. And amazing discussion. Thank you guys all so much. And I hope for everyone who is listening, whether you're here live or whether you're listening via the recording, that this also helps you see things in a slightly different way, to be able to watch the movie as it unfolds, to in a sense really enjoy the process. I know that may sound weird, but but it's enjoying the process, in a sense. We have no other choice. We're sitting back and there's nothing else to do. So we might as well, in a sense, watch the movie, watch it unfold. And we live in unprecedented times. That makes it really exciting too, right? We've never experienced this in the history of the planet. This is a major shift that we're going through. And the thing is that we're alive to see it. And not only alive to see it, each and every one of you, if you are listening, whether you're listening via the recording, whether you're here live, whether you're wherever you are, if you're listening to this and you've even gotten through this far, listening through all of this, you are here for a reason.
Yeah, for sure.
You are here to support humanity in its next step moving forward. And so trust that.
150%, 200%, 1,000%.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Where's that champagne, Natalie?
I know, right? Yeah, there you go, girl. There you go. Cheers.
Cheers. So it really is a time for celebration. There's going to be a lot of upheaval. There's going to be a lot of uncertainty. We are just at the beginning of this, and it'll probably get worse before it gets better. I'm just, giving you guys a heads up. But know that there is a light on the other side of it. And we are all here for a purpose and a reason. And we're here, in a sense, to help humanity, whatever that looks like, whether it's, just your friends and family, whether you're using this with clients and businesses, however you're using this information. If you're here right now and you're listening to this at this point in time, you're here for a reason.
Yeah.
And you can make a massive difference, whether it be one person, or whether it be a large group of people, or, even bigger than that. Yeah. So just trust that. And when you trust your decision-making strategy, it will bring you exactly where you need to go. It will bring you to the right place at the right time. You just need to trust that. Trust your decision-making strategy. Be safe. And thank you all next very much. Yeah, we'll see you all next week. All right, thanks everyone. All right, bye-bye.